Hey loves, welcome to my channel. My name is Jane Lawrence, aka Juicy Jane, and I come with a lot of juice to spill. So grab a cup of coffee because we're about to talk about something pretty nasty. 5 negative side effects that come with anal sex. You know, I could never understand the pleasure women derive from having this kind of penetration because I can only envision pain. Pain, that's all I can envision. Now, you may disagree with me on this one, but it's my opinion at the end of the day and how I feel about taking the joystick from the backyard. It doesn't sit well with me, but that's just me. And I am not making this video to impose my opinion on anyone. I'm just going to have this conversation like I would if I were with friends with diverse opinions, right? Now, I respect your sexual decision, but hey, this is my opinion. It's an opinionated video that I'm going to make. I honestly think that the joystick from the butt is a perverted kind of sex because naturally the hole is not designed to take that kind of intrusion. Nah. Of course, yes, some people would say, oh, it's better when you use a lot of lubricants. Even at that, it still doesn't feel or look right to me. It doesn't. I think the person who first thought about having, anal sex probably was tired of penetrating a loose kitty, and he said, oh, the butthole is a lot tighter. Why don't we just, drive through that dark alley and see how good it feels? And boom, that became a forbidding pleasure he couldn't do without because of how tight the sphincter gripped his joystick and made him bust out his creamy juice everywhere in less than a minute. So boom, it became a thing. And the mainstream media is now making it a cool thing. Nah, it's not a cool thing to do. Trust me, I am the most open person sexually, but this one, I am so closed up to it. Do you know how sometimes uncomfortable it feels pooping, especially when it's hard? And that's your poop just coming out. Not to make mention of when something as huge and long and thick and hard as the joystick drives through that tiny hole. And not just drive through, but drives in and out consistently, sometimes even faster and deeper. No, that's pain, y'all. That's pain. That's not enjoyment to me. And sex isn't supposed to be painful. It's supposed to be enjoyable. Now, you might be asking, why then did I bring this up? Like, I saw a video of a girl using an automated machine with a huge size dildo to have a butt drilled. When the session was over, my goodness, the operator removed, this humongous dildo, and what I saw next almost got me throwing up. Her whole butthole was wide open, so much so that you could see the whole rectum inside. Obviously, her sphincter has been broken, leaving her with, an open, deformed butthole. She probably isn't ever going to be able to hold a poop, and thought she might just need a surgery to correct it, or maybe just use adult Pampers, unless she gets the surgery. Nah, that's the craziest perversion I have seen so far. How does anyone enjoy that? See, the most that anyone should even go is just using the finger, to tease around it. And maybe just do a rim with your tongue and all of that stuff if she's clean or he's clean. And that's it. But to be honest, whether the thought of using the back door makes me swoon or cringe, the fact still remains that people are doing this in droves. Because 32.6% of women have had anal sex with an opposite sex. And of course, these stats, according to CDC, are up quite a bit from the 1990s, when only 20% of women had tried it or revealed that they had tried it. So people are doing this. It has become the norm. Do you understand what I mean? But as with everything in life, there are definitely some negatives to having your butt penetrated. Bottoming may not be your thing. It may not be your style, but for those who love it, those who are apprehensive about it, or you're just plain white curious, here are 5 possible negative side effects to having butt sex. Number 1, it creates tears in your butthole. Like, can you imagine how painful it gets when your poop tears you up? If you do, then you pretty much understand what I'm trying to say. You pretty much understand where I'm coming from. The reason butthole lovers are so adamant about using lube isn't just because it makes it feel better, but because it also helps limit tearing. Your anal canal is really absorbent, and unlike the kitty, your butthole is not self-lubricating, so you absolutely need to use lube when you're having butt penetration to avoid tearing, which can invariably increase the risk for STI transmission. Or you may say that anal tearing isn't much of a big deal and most STIs are being treated, blah 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 blase. But look, having cuts in your butthole is a recipe for all sorts of bacteria that can easily make their way into the bloodstream. Have you thought of that? And that's dangerous. That's why doctors recommend that people taking butt drive should endeavor to use butt lube and a condom in order to minimize anal tear so as to protect you from STIs. And if you must do it, then don't forget to double check to find out if the lube itself is compatible with the condom, because oil-based lubes can degrade latex, okay? So it's not totally safe. Now, number 2, the backyard carries the highest risks of STIs. Now, according to CDC, putting your joystick in the butt is the riskiest type of sex that people can have. One of the major dangers of having anal sex is how easily it can be to contract and transmit HIV when having it, because the butthole does not naturally produce lubrication. And the skin in this area is very thin. So invariably, butthole tears are basically welcome mat for HPV, HIV, and other STIs. It's one of the potential side effects of, bottoming. Number 3, now you need to realize that penetrating the back door is often linked to anal cancer, because one of the STIs that anal sex puts people at risk of is human papillomavirus, which is, usually linked with oral, cervical, and anal cancer. This is according to the American Cancer Society. You need to know that not all kinds of HPV are linked to cancer, and you can be vaccinated against those kind that, lead to cancer. And of course, many strains are asymptomatic. That is, they don't show signs, all right? But for warts that you see around the anus or the penis or the vagina, all right? But experts advise that HPV and its associated illnesses are one of the risks of anal sex. Even though HPV usually goes away on its own, in some cases it does cause cancer. So HPV is considered the main cause of anal cancer, because every year in the US, around 4,700 cases of HPV associated anal cancers are diagnosed in women, and about 2,300 in men are also diagnosed. And the funny thing is that these cases have been rising in the past 15 years, in part because of higher HPV rates. I'm hoping that you do know that we just don't have pap smear for the cervix alone. We have anal pap smears. All right, so if you've been having anal sex, you could still request for anal pap smear from your healthcare provider if you're concerned that you've contracted, the cancer-linked strain of HPV. Now, number 4, infections are generally more prevalent with anal sex. Now, let's not beat around the bush. The butthole is the direct path to the bowel or the bowel. The bowels are, of course, home to poop, and poop is a waste product. Poop is the waste product that's bursting at the seams with bacteria. So once you subtract the STIs from the equation, it's time to think about the infection that comes with E. coli. The bacteria E. coli is a bacteria that lives in the bowels. So spreading E. coli to the mouth or other orifices carries risk. For one, E. coli is one of the main causes of a urinary tract infection in women after anal sex. And this also means that going from anal sex to vaginal sex without properly washing in between may just increase your risk of, having UTI, that's urinary tract infection, as well as other, possible unpleasant infection. So if rimming is going to be part of your play, that is mouth to anus, be sure to clean really nicely around that area, or just stay away from it. If you know that you're not going to be very careful, you're not going to be very hygienic, don't even go around doing the butt play things. Number 5, butt play can lead to damaged pothole, which could invariably cause you to use diapers eventually. People don't say this enough. People don't admit to it that it happens. So how exactly does anal sex make you more open to leaking poop? Here's the deal. All anal intercourse could dilate and eventually stretch, your internal and external sphincter. And that could lead to the damage of these structures. Even though I agree that poops are not found in the rectum, but if your sphincter is damaged, how do you hold your poop when it crawls from the lower intestines? How do you do that? Of course, I'm aware of the fact that the butt has nerve endings that are pleasurable to touch, but the joy of exploring the realms doesn't really supersede the negative side effects of, consistently having your butthole being driven. Let's just stick to the kitty cat and every other part that are less risky to explore. And with this, I have come to the end of this session. Feel free to disagree if you want to, but keep it respectful. Until next time, keep living the fab life. Mwah.